Eventually, after a time together, we start thinking about the final stage of love. Commitment, marriage, and even kids. Love, both chemical and emotional, wins the day. It's a relationship we hope will last a lifetime, and the process of long-term bonding is chemical too. Sex isn't just about procreation or recreation. It also strengthens the bond between lovers. During orgasm, both partners' pituitary glands flood their bodies with oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It's the very same hormone that binds us to our mother as a newborn baby. The more sex we have, the more oxytocin we produce, the stronger the bond between us. Some anthropologists believe oxytocin could be evolution's way of creating a bond that's strong enough to keep parents together through the trials of parenthood. And the time for parenthood is now. An egg, the largest cell in the human body, ripens and bursts from the ovary. It begins the same monthly journey hundreds of others made before it. While earlier eggs were lost in menstruation, this one is destined to become a baby. $300 million sperm, the smallest cells in the body, enter the vagina during ejaculation. They have a tough journey in front of them. First, they must survive the hostile environment of the vagina. Its secretions are acidic to prevent bacterial infection, but they also kill sperm. Most of the sperm are killed before they reach the cervix. The surviving sperm swim on into the uterus and fallopian tube. Muscular contractions in the walls of the fallopian tube help the sperm towards the egg. Only a few hundred make it this far, and only one will succeed in fertilizing the egg. This truly is survival of the fittest. Only the most viable sperm with the best DNA will survive to pass on its genes. So far, there's no sign of what has happened. We're totally unaware that we're about to embark on a new chapter in our life. Over the next 40 weeks, a single cell will develop into a baby. Often, the first symptom is morning sickness. No one knows for sure what causes the nausea, but one theory is that it protects the fetus from toxins in food. These could harm its tiny organs during this critical phase of development. Another theory is that nausea is a side effect of the mother's immune system, as it weakens to avoid attacking the developing embryo. The fetus is effectively a parasite. It saps the mother's energy as it draws what it needs from her body. It has its own life support system, the placenta. Here, the mother's blood passes nutrients across a membrane into the fetal blood. Thanks to this constant nourishment, the baby grows over 850 grams in 10 weeks. And the uterus expands up to 1,000 times its normal size just to hold it. The story of human life continues. From the peak years of early adulthood to the joy of becoming a parent. As our children grow older, so do we. Our body is about to face the next challenge. By this time of life, our body has already peaked.
Doors closing.
We have been aging for many years. But it is only now in our 40s we really notice our changing appearance. Our body is changing and beginning to show its age. The cumulative effect of years in the sun causes the first symptom. Our skin is getting wrinkles. Since birth, we have been replacing our skin at an astonishing rate. We can make up to 40,000 new skin cells every minute. These replace the dead cells we're constantly shedding. By 45, we've created more than 180 kilograms of dust from old skin cells. Our skin cells are never more than a month old, even in middle age. Wrinkles are not caused by damage to the cells. The problem is the stuff that binds them together. Collagen. Ultraviolet radiation in sunlight triggers a molecular chain reaction which degrades the collagen. The fibers get thinner and break. Our middle-aged skin loses its elasticity, becomes saggy and wrinkly. As we enter our 50s, our body's metabolism may be slowing down, but our lifestyle isn't. We have a growing family and a demanding career. And these can create another killer: stress. We all recognize the outward signs of stress: sweaty palms and shortness of breath, a dizzy feeling. But the real damage takes place inside our body. When we're stressed, the body instinctively shifts into the fight or flight mode. Hormones, adrenaline and cortisol flood from the adrenal gland into the bloodstream. This makes muscles contract, arteries constrict, and heart pump faster, increasing blood pressure. We evolved the fight or flight reflex to respond to attacks from predators. But we can't escape our predator, the relentless pressure of being a working parent, and our body has no release. It's the constant triggering of fight or flight that can be damaging to our body. Stress may cause irreparable harm to our cardiovascular network, speeding up the aging process in the blood vessels. The high blood pressure damages cells in the artery walls. They become stiff and thick. Especially here, in the biggest artery, the aorta. Arteries with stiff walls restrict blood flow around the body. Our blood pressure rises, so our heart must work harder. It's a vicious circle. The more stress we experience, the more we damage our blood vessels. And the more damaged our blood vessels, the less able we are to deal with the effects of stress. If stress gets out of control, the heart can become enlarged as it struggles to force blood through our narrowing, less elastic blood vessels. High blood pressure can also rupture blood vessels in the brain, causing stroke. Most of us learn to manage stress, but for women in their 50s, another factor compounds the problem. Menopause. During menopause, the ovaries run out of eggs. They also stop producing the sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. It signals the end of a woman's reproductive life. As the supply of hormones winds down, it upsets the balance in the regions of the brain responsible for mood, sleep, and temperature control. When the hypothalamus is thrown off course, hot flushes occur, moments when the body can't set its thermostat correctly. It's not just the brain that's affected, bone and muscle tissues also weaken. A woman's body spends its whole life getting accustomed to these hormones. Now they're gone, and the aging process accelerates. As children leave home, and we retire from work, our body enters a new phase in life. Old age has arrived. In 70 years, we have grown from a tiny baby to an adult. From child to parent to grandparent. The aging process began several decades ago. Now we are in the grip of old age. It's the final chapter in the journey of life. When we retire from work, our lifestyle begins to slow. Our body is slowing down too. The outward signs of aging are only part of the story. Our senses are affected. We have been losing the sensory hairs we used to hear from our cochlea since birth. Now most of the higher frequency hairs are gone. We're even losing hairs in the lower frequencies. The lubricating pads are stiffening between the ossicles attached to the eardrum. They're slowly seizing up. These days we struggle to hear. Our sight continues to worsen. The lenses in our eyes become stiffer and even change color. From clear blue to a frosty yellow-brown. The result of a lifetime's exposure to ultraviolet light. Most of us are never aware of this change. Our brain just works harder to compensate for it. Aging also has a dramatic effect on our skeleton. Many of us are at risk from osteoporosis. Bone cells are still hard at work, destroying old bone and replacing it with new bone. But old age upsets the balance between them. Osteoclasts are destroying bone faster than osteoblasts can rebuild it. What remains is a hollowed-out cluster of brittle bone fibers. Our bones slowly crumble. And broken bones become a very real danger. It happens in both sexes, but the hormonal changes of menopause accelerate bone loss faster in women. Aging is one of the great mysteries of life. Why does our appearance change so very much between the ages of 40 and 70? It's more than wear and tear. It's a process affecting every cell in our body. Every day, cells clone themselves in their billions. The DNA inside is also copied. As old cells die off, the new ones take their place. The trouble is, this cloning system isn't perfect. Any imperfections in the DNA are also replicated. In a lifetime, we make so many copies of ourselves that even the tiniest errors accumulate with time. It's just like using a photocopier. Copies made from copies degrade in quality. In our face, we have totally replaced the bone every 2 years since we were born. Our 70-year-old face is a 35th copy of our baby face. The imperfections get exaggerated with each copy. So by the time we reach old age, our face looks very different indeed. Another cause of aging is in the very air that we breathe. We need oxygen to live, but throughout our lives, it is slowly poisoning us. Inside each of our cells, our mitochondria are like tiny power plants, combining nutrients with oxygen. They create the energy we need, but just like a power plant, they also produce pollution. In this case, the pollutant is a form of oxygen itself. The oxygen molecules change into unstable forms called free radicals. Over a lifetime, these free radicals slowly suffocate the mitochondria and damage our cells. Our cells and DNA become more and more damaged and can't replicate themselves. Our body can't repair its organs properly. Eventually, they fail. Death, like life, is an amazing biological process, engineered into the cells of the body. Just as our DNA dictates the timeline of our development, it also puts a cap on how long we can live. Each time a cell copies itself, it leaves behind a tiny piece of DNA. After billions of divisions, so much DNA is lost, the cells eventually lose the ability to divide altogether. Death is not instantaneous. It is a gradual winding down of tissues and organs. It's thought that the heart's final pump flushes the bloodstream with endorphins, the body's natural painkillers. Now starved of oxygen, tissues cannot function. Within 10 seconds, our brain's electrical activity drops. Within 4 minutes, it is damaged irreversibly. Our hearing is the last sense to go. Even after death, some cells stay alive. It can take 24 hours for skin cells to stop dividing, and an amazing 37 hours before our last brain cell fires its final impulse. There is a saying that life goes on. For some of us, it could even go on for some time. Current trends suggest that children born in the West today can expect to live into their 80s and beyond. And even after we've gone, we live on through our loved ones. Our children and our children's children carry our genes, in every one of their cells. They also carry memories of us too, the moments they have shared from our extraordinary story. All journeys must one day end. And what a journey it has been.